Hello, happy Friday. Okay, so the other day you got to see me all dressed. Today you get to see me in my norm. Gym clothes, sweaty, hair kind of half braided. That's the norm for me every day of the week. That's why I was so excited to do a Facebook Live when I actually was like up and ready. Okay, I have an interesting Facebook Live for you today, and I'm very excited to interact with you guys. This is specifically for you, your attention, if you are a controlling mom or wife. Now, let's talk about this. It's very easy for me to spot because I am still a recovering one. I am a type A. I tend to be somebody that likes to be in control and take control of situations. So it's very easy for me to spot this in other people. And I want to talk to you about it today because there are a lot of us out there. And let me tell you something. It veils itself under the heading of, I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to help my husband become a better person. I'm trying to help him improve. I'm trying to help my children. They're not doing something right. All of these things that you are continuing to lie to yourself that you're helping people, but the reality of it is you're a control freak. You are a control freak. And boy, this is an epidemic among women, and this is very damaging to the relationships in your life. So give me a thumbs up if you think you're one of these. If you think you're one of these women. I mean, I'm the first one to say, yes, I have been, and I still fight that natural inclination to want to control. But I want to tell you, you are doing much more damage to your relationships than you are good. You really are. You are damaging your husband, your boyfriend. You're damaging your children. And I want to tell you something about being a controlling person. You can let go of your desire to control everything, or you can spend the rest of your life in conflict with the people that you love the most. Now, I know your heart is not to be in conflict with the people that you love the most. I know that's your heart. But I want to just point some things out to you because this could be you. And here are the symptoms for you as a controlling person. You feel exhausted. You feel like you have to do everything for everybody. You feel that nobody does anything right. You feel that you get no help from anybody. And you feel that you're always having to give directions to the people around you. Does that sound like you? Are you just overly exhausted all the time and you can't figure out why? And you just wonder why nobody can get anything right? Ding, 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 ding. You're probably a control freak. And you are causing stress, undue stress to yourself and to everybody around you. It sucks. I can look back on my life when my older two children were little, and I wanted to control every situation. I wanted to control everything. I wanted everybody to be happy all the time. So I had to do it this way and had to look like this and had to be like this. And nobody was happy, especially not me. My desire to control everything was causing everybody stress and everybody was unhappy. Does this sound familiar to you, ladies? Listen, there is hope. You can get out of it, and you can live less stressed, and you can live outside of that feeling that you need to do everything. What I have found over the years that controlling spirit inside of you is really a lack of faith. It stems from insecurity and fear and just completely a lack of faith. Now, as a believer, that to me, that presents itself in thinking, you know what, God can't handle this problem, so I'm going to. Isn't that like, you're not God, I'm not God. So thinking that you're the one that has to be in charge of all these things around you is really false. There's no such thing as control. It's an illusion. We're not in control of anybody, right? Except ourselves. We all have free will. And I can just tell you from my own experience, I hate to be put into a box, and I hate for people to try to control me. And immediately my brakes get put on, and I even feel on the defense when I feel that somebody is trying to control me. But yet, we women, moms and wives, the good moms and good wives, are out there completely control and bullying your spouses and even your children, thinking that you're doing all this good, helping everybody, being in control, making sure everybody gets everything done right. You're doing way more damage than you are good. And here's an interesting thing, that being a control freak actually gives you less influence over the people in your sphere than more. You think it's giving you more because you're trying to make people do things, but it's actually giving you less influence. Because think about yourself. Do you like people to tell you what to do and how to do it? Absolutely not. I have raised 3 teenagers. I'm mid-teenager with my third one. And I can tell you, the more that you try to enforce something specifically for your children to do, the more they don't want to do it. I'm like that. Are you? Like, I'm a little rebellious, and somebody tells me, well, you certainly can't do this. I'm like, why not? It's been a big driver for me in my career. People telling me all the time, MLM is bad. You can't get involved in that. Those are scams. Those people just use people. I'm like, no, it isn't. It's an amazing profession where people build each other up and encourage people and help people all the time. It's kind of been that rebellion that one of the drivers for me in that profession, because so many people told me I shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't do it, right? And so it's funny that the controllers of the world think that they know better than everybody else. But I believe that we are born with this innate personality. And it's funny, as a parent, I can look at my children's behavior when they were babies, kind of some of their little fun little quirks, and look at them now as 2 adults and a young woman, my daughter Savannah, who's almost 16. And I can see some of these things that they did as babies, some of the things that they liked and didn't like, and how they present themselves as adults. They were always that way. Isn't that funny? And so we're born with these personalities and these traits and kind of these desires one way or the other. And so I'm gonna talk to you about some of the things that being a controlling person does to your children. A controlling mom, you will cause limited independence for your children. I see this so often. I even see it when I drop Savannah off at school. Now I only probably have 2 more months left of dropping a child off at school, because she'll be getting a car and taking herself here in a few months. But since Brianna was first going to elementary school, how many years ago? She's 28. I've been taking children to school. And here's one of the things that I see. Moms stop their cars. They get out of their cars. They take their children's backpacks out for them. And then they put them on their backs, give them their hugs, and then they leave. That's a controlling mom. You are not teaching your child any independence when you get out and you give them their backpacks for them. Yes, that is a very simple thing, right? But it is an overall, it is a generalized symptom of you trying to be controlling. Now, when I was a young mom and I was a single mom and I was working and going to school and trying to take care of my 2 young children, yes, I'm sure I was controlling, but I didn't have the opportunity to control everything because I didn't have the time. So my older 2 children had to be very independent from a young age by necessity. It was by necessity. They had to learn how to do laundry. They had to pack their own lunches. I didn't have time to get out of the car and get their backpacks for them. I was on the run to go to school. So they had to get their backpacks and get out. and I'm actually glad that I was able to teach them independence at a young age, because they're incredible adults living their lives, having their own minds, following their own paths, partially because I didn't have the ability to control them, right? So you will cause limited independence on your children when you are a controlling mom, and you'll start to see that as they get older. I don't know, Mom, what should I do? I don't know, Mom, what should I do? Now, not to say that it's not great when your kids ask you for advice, it's great. But when they ask you for advice because they don't have the ability to make decisions on their own, because you didn't allow that growth in their lives, unhealthy. That's an unhealthy amount of control. They have an inability to self-regulate their behavior. When you are telling your children what to do it, what to think, how to act, how to talk to this person, you are stealing, you are robbing from them their ability to learn how to regulate their own behavior. You are stifling their growth is what you're doing. Instead of empowering them, right? You are enabling them and stifling their growth. And I believe as a parent, our job is not to raise children. Our job is to raise adults, right? We see this incredible generation, an entire generation of kids that live at home into their 30s. They don't have the ability, they're incapable, a lot of them, not all of them, of living on their own, forging their path, figuring it out. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the big ones could be that they were overly controlled by their parents. And I'm just speaking to moms here today because I'm a mom, I'm not a dad. Okay. Here's another thing this is a symptom of having a controlling mom. There is a gigantic rise in depression and anxiety. Having an overly controlling parent causes your children to have depression and anxiety as they get older and into adulthood. Is that what you want? Just so that you can have it your way, the right way? So here's some symptoms. I got this off of a psychology website. I'm going to show you a couple of symptoms that you are overly controlling with your children. Are you ready? You try to micromanage their eating, their appearance, their hobbies, or their social life. Now, obviously, this shifts and changes as our children grow. When they're younger, you do have control over it. But as they are growing, you will age appropriately. If you're teaching them how to become adults, age appropriately, you give them more reign, more ability to make decisions for themselves. So another one is you give affection as a reward, but you withdraw it as punishment. That just sounds mean. You criticize your children far more than you praise them. I've seen this in moms, and it makes me sad. It really makes me sad. And this is a big one because dependent on your child's personality type, they are already more susceptible to hearing and taking in any negative, way more negative than they do positive. It has a lot to do with just our brains and the way that our brains work. Our brains tune in on negative. And so if you're criticizing your child much more than you are praising them, it's exponential in their little growing brains. It's a big deal. You violate your children's privacy. Now, again, age appropriate. I never believed that my children had necessarily privacy when they were younger and living under my roof. But as they are becoming young adults into their teen years, it really is a violation of their privacy. You override, discount, or ridicule your children's emotions when they have them. Are you guilty of that? Your child is really upset about something and you just override it. Nope, that's not how you feel. You forbid your children from asking questions or disagreeing with you. Because I said so. Now, sometimes you really do need to say that. But as your children are developing personalities and becoming more independent, are you literally not allowing them to question stuff? You believe that you own their children and that they have to earn your love. I hope that's not you. That one's just sad. You see your children's desires for independence as a personal rejection. I've seen a lot of moms do this. They don't want to hang out with me anymore. It's normal. They're supposed to not want to be with you anymore. As they get older, that is a normal part of the growth and development. Do you want to hang out with your mom every day? I mean, you might now that you're a grown adult, but at that age, did you? And I'm not going to read the last one because it's about abuse, and I'm not talking about abuse. So I'm just specifically talking about parenting, and I have a tiny little example here. Bobby and I, as I have grown in my walk with the Lord, in my faith in the Lord, in my personal development, in my leadership skills, in my abilities as a wife and a mom, By the way, all of that comes at a cost, and usually because I've, fallen on my face a million times and then finally learned a lesson. As I have grown, with Savannah, parenting Savannah, I've been a little bit of a different parent. I've allowed more independence. I've allowed more independent thought and decision making. And so she made a decision about something specific, and we let her make the decision. I'm not going to say whether we agreed with it or not, because I actually did agree with the decision, but with every decision that any of us make, there's always some type of a consequence or some type of a ramification, positive or negative, right? And so the result of the decision that she made meant that in the future here, there was going to be something else that happened. She made a decision about something, and then she knew that down the road that was going to mean something else. This is about school, and I don't want to say anything specific because, I don't know, maybe people from her school are listening. I don't want to call her out or anything. But when this result happened, I said, Savannah, when you made this decision, you knew that it was going to be this result or this result. And so you have to know that whatever decision you make, you have to be willing to accept the result, even if it's not the one that you want. And so I've tried to teach all the kids, but especially Savannah, because I'm a different person than I was when I was raising my older two kids, that whatever decision that she makes, there is going to be a consequence, positive or negative. If you take a stand for something because you're passionate, there could be positive and negative effects. I'm trying to allow her the ability to make decisions, feel confident in those decisions, or make a decision that's wrong and live in the consequence of it and learn from it. That's our job as parents. When you shelter your child so much and control them, they have not developed any skills. And you and I both know as adults, you need those skills. You need that grit. You need the ability to be able to overcome obstacles and to fight through situations because they're gonna come. So being a controlling parent may feel good to you because you're helping them, you're doing it right, or you're teaching them the right way, but allow your children to have some failure and to have some independence and give them the ability to develop confidence in their own selves and their own decision-making ability. That's a big one. I'm going to switch from controlling moms to controlling wives. This is another one that I see all too often, and it makes me sad. And it's kind of become a cultural, almost norm. You even see it in television shows where when you looked at television shows from, I don't know, like the 70s or whatever, the dad was the head of the household, man, and he was the one, and wait till your father gets home, and he was the authoritative person, and he was the one that everybody looked to for advice. He was this rock. If you watch television now, more often than not, the dad is an idiot. The dad is this fat, lazy, dumb guy that everybody makes fun of. The guy that makes all the mistakes, the guy that nobody looks to, for advice, or it's sad. It's culturally become the norm for the women to be controlling the men. And, I don't think anybody should be controlling anybody, but because I'm a woman, I'm going to specifically speak to you about this. And I'm grateful that I have had the most amazing husband that loves me enough to be able to point out things in me that needed to shift and change. When you are an overly controlling wife, here are some of the symptoms. Constant criticism. Constant criticism to your husband, nagging, bitching, just complaining about every little thing that they do. Oh, you left the toilet seat up. Oh, why didn't you do this? Oh, I needed that. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Constant criticism. It starts small a lot of the times, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then it just becomes normal. It becomes part of the dynamic of your relationship. It makes it very, very hard for a man to feel valued, validated, important in the relationship when you're constantly picking on every little thing that they do. You make your acceptance conditional. Well, if you'll do this, I'll do this. And I've seen this with women. This is going to go a little bit PG-13 real quick. I've seen women do this in their intimate relationships with their spouses. Well, if he does this, I do that. It's a sad thing. That intimate relationship between you and your husband is a gift to both of you. It creates connection. And here's what I like to say about a really good, healthy sex life in a marriage. You know, it's like you both have this little inside joke, this little secret that's just between you. And when you have a healthy relationship and you're engaging in intimacy on a regular basis, you can look at each other across the room or across the house, or if you're at an event, you can smile at each other and know there's something that's just between you and him that is really special. It's private. Nobody knows about it. Nobody sees it. But when you're using affection and, you know, that your sex life, your intimacy as a tool to reward or to punish somebody, it ruins it. You're destroying something that God gave us in a marriage, in a relationship, to create something unique and special just between the two of you. That's a sad one. You have these are symptoms of an overly controlling wife. You have an overactive scorecard. Well, and I've been so guilty of this. It's easy for me to talk about this because I've been so guilty of some of these things, okay? Not all of them, but some of them. You have an overactive scorecard. Well, I did this, this, and this, and you've only done this, or you haven't done anything. You haven't done enough. Bobby used to tell me for years, I feel like I can never do enough. I can never do enough around you. And I'm so glad that he told me these things because I didn't want him to feel like that. And I didn't want to feel like that, but because I was trying to control him and the situation and everybody around me. You use guilt and manipulation as a tool. Women, we are good at manipulation. It starts as kids, by the way. When we're overly controlling as a mom, we teach our children manipulation and they grow up doing the same thing. Overly controlling. Conditional giving. You do something for your spouse or other people, but your spouse specifically, you don't say anything, but there is a silent expectation that you're going to get something in return. That is a surefire sign of a controlling spouse. Surefire. It's never said. You don't say it like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I know he'll do this, or I expect that he's going to do this for me in return. Unhealthy behaviors starts to create a divide, starts to create a wall in the relationship. It's emasculating to men to do this. Here's another thing I'm just going to talk about. I work with a lot of women, mostly women. And I work with a lot of women that are believers as well. And they say, oh, I'm just praying. I'm praying for my husband. I want him to be the head of the household. I want him to, to do this and to take control and to do all these things. How can he? You never give him the opportunity. When they do finally start to make decisions, you tell them they're wrong. When they do finally start to step out, you step all over them. And you don't allow them to be who they really are. This is a big problem. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. Control freak. Okay. You're just creating all this drama in your relationship for no reason. And you're creating stress in you. Like, why are so many women so stressed out? Yes, we do carry a lot. I'm a woman. We wear a lot of hats. But a lot of this stress that we have on us is self-induced. Here's another one. That you, as a woman, if you're overly controlling as a wife, you're not respecting your spouse's need for some time alone. You know, it's funny because we live in an era now where I see every day people posting stuff on social media about self-care. Today is a self-care day, right? Like you expect that you're going to be able to go and have your alone time, whatever it is that you're doing to keep your bucket full, but you don't allow that same gift to your spouse. What is it that they need to recharge? Is it, golfing with the guys? Is it sitting on the couch for an hour and having nobody bug them? What is it? Like, allow them the same gift that you give yourself when you give it. Now, a lot of women don't. That's a whole nother talk, for women that are these martyrdom women that, oh, I can't, blah, blah, blah. I just give to everybody all the time. That's controlling too. It's manipulation. Another symptom here of controlling wife is you make them earn your trust by their good behavior. Well, if you do this, then I'll be nice to you. Here's another one. Does your husband just give in because you are unrelenting in an argument or something, then they finally just give in? These are symptoms. Do you make your spouse feel stupid and belittled for their beliefs, whether it's religion, politics, sports, whatever? You make them feel stupid? Blah, blah, blah. That's controlling. Do you make them feel that they don't measure up? This is a big one. This is a big one for me. I see women complaining about their husband's eating habits or their lack of exercise or their lack of motivation. All these things that you complain about your husband, and they say it to their faces too. But then when they do, but you are not allowing them the ability to be a man and make decisions for themselves because you're portioning out their food and telling them what they can and can't have and belittling them, treating them like another child. It's emasculating. It is a subtle way to tell them they are not good enough for you. Is that what you want your spouse, your husband to feel? Teasing or ridiculing them for something that is true. I've been guilty of this too. Now, my husband has been on a massive run to take his health and nutrition to like a way next level. He looks hot. He's amazing looking. But we used to have this joke that we used to say before when neither one of us were taking care of our bodies. And it would be, this is my last Sunday. This was my last Sunday, And I think that probably hurt him. And I feel bad about it. Even though we all laughed about it, there's an undercurrent there of an unacceptance and ridicule. And I feel really bad about it. Are you unwilling to listen to their point of view on something? When you have discussions or opinions, they share theirs and you don't even allow that to be an opinion that comes in. And here's a big one that I hear women say all the time. He's just not motivated. He doesn't want to move up in his job. He's not interested in this. He's not trying to better himself. Well, the more you're trying to control them, the less that they will want to. If you want to have more influence over your children, over your husband, over everybody around you, I'm going to give you the 3 things that you need to do. Encourage them. This is a big one. Encouragement. Speaking positive into them. Speaking life into them. Telling your husband the things that he does right. Why don't you compliment your husband today? Tell him something that he did right today, even if it's something tiny. Even if you have to look hard for it. Tell your husband something today that he has done right, that you are thankful for and grateful for. Encouragement. Tell your children. Encourage your children. Encourage them in the things that are going right in their life. And try to have one day where you don't criticize either one of them. That's number 1. Number 2, love. Just love them. Love is supposed to be unconditional, right? And sometimes when people seem the most unlovable is when they need the most love. Just shower them with love. Your children and your spouse. And here's the hard one. Ready? Model the behavior. You have way more influence over the people in your circle of trust, the people that you love, your children, your husband, when you are modeling the behavior that you would like them to take on or become or learn, than telling them, you need to do this and that and the other thing. Encourage, love, modeling. Kind of puts you in check, right? If you're watching this and you're one of these controlling women, and in your mind, all you do is think about all the things that your spouse doesn't do right, not doing enough of, back off. Worry about you and yourself and model the behavior that you want to see and pray. There's nothing more powerful than praying for your spouse. I'll end my live with this. Years and years ago, I was reading the book by Stormie Omartian called The Power of the Praying Wife. And it was impacting me in a lot of ways. I was really shifting and learning less, to try to control less, to have more faith, learning to be more encouraging, more loving and less demanding and critical. And, I wasn't really talking about it to anybody, but I was reading this book every night. And for Valentine's Day that year, Bobby, his gift to me was he bought the book, The Power of a Praying Husband, for himself. And I thought, what an awesome thing. I modeled something, not to try to change him, or I was trying to change me, not to try to force him to do something or demand him to do something, but because he saw something in me that was happening that he liked, he mirrored that back to me, and his gift to me was that he was going to read that book for himself. So encouragement, love, and model the behavior. And girl, just be quiet. Stop nitpicking and complaining and bitching to everybody around you. You are causing everybody and yourself undue stress. You're building up walls between you and the people on this earth that you love the most. And I know that's not what you want. So I hope that was helpful for you today on a Friday. Kind of some heavy content there. Not super fun, but I mean, you know, like I said, speaking from a recovering, not recovered, a recovering controller, I have to always put myself in check. So I hope that was helpful for you today. I hope you have an amazing Friday. Talk to you soon.